More than once, I've been called in the comment section the white guy from the Juneteenth episode of Atlanta. And that's the 9th episode of the first season. And if you've never seen it, like, I saw that episode and I was destroyed. I mean, destroyed for how human it was, for how well made it was, and for that character, the white guy from that episode. This guy who appreciates black culture in such a deep way and shows a reverence and a willingness to be like goofy with it. And he's married to a black woman who sort of has a lot of the stereotypical view of black culture that he himself doesn't have. It's this whole very complex show, a very complex interaction between these characters. And there's a certain point where they go into this character's study, and he has a Childish Gambino album behind him. He has Awaken My Love behind him, in addition to, pictures of, I don't know, maybe Coltrane and African art. I believe Donald Glover's character Ern's like, are you an anthropologist? Like, he's trying to figure it out. And it reaches this point where he tells Ern, you should really go to Africa, experience your roots. And then later they have this whole conversation. It's the beautiful breakdown moment where Donald Glover's character just gives up. He's trying to play nice. He's trying to make connections with these people because, this guy's super rich. He's a super rich, maybe a podiatrist, something like that, optometrist. And his wife is very connected and influential. And, and Donald Glover Ern just says, you know what? This is whack. He just says, this is whack. This is stupid. And he says directly to the white guy from the Juneteenth episode of Atlanta, stop stunting on me about my culture. I can't go back to Africa because you know what? I'm broke. And the reason that this episode kills me, okay? I understand this kind of criticism often because I come on here and because I teach a lot of African American history, because I teach a lot of rap music, because I teach a lot of black culture, because it's something that interests me, because it's something I talk about. I sometimes get that energy. I sometimes understandably get that energy. But what kills me about this episode is that he says, oh, I understand, my bad. The white guy from the Juneteenth episode of Atlanta says, I'm sorry. Like, he understands in this moment, the same way he understood when his wife said something stereotypical and frankly cruel about Ern's family, and he kind of grimaces. It's like in that moment, this character who we're supposed to make fun of and we're supposed to think is a clown actually acts with the kind of humanity that's lacking so often. And what Ern says is, no, you don't understand, and stop being so likable. And that's what sticks with me. That's what sticks with me as my channel gets bigger, as I continue to talk about rap music, as I continue to collaborate with many other black creators, as I'm here and I'm trying to be in this space. Sometimes I just have the image, and I've had this from the very beginning, from the first time I talked about anything on this channel. I have the image of Ern looking, saying, stop being so likable. You don't understand. Okay. My name is Craig Allen. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who's going to talk about this album anyway. And I'm going to keep talking about that episode of Atlanta because I think he also included a substitute for himself. And this is getting into the sort of larger theme of how I feel about listening to his music, how it makes me feel confused. There's a character who's this kind of well-to-do character who's clearly who's had a lot of success in life, and she says, have you seen my play, With Tail Between Legs? It takes place, I wrote and directed it, it all takes place in a strip club. It's about two gangbangers who hold a pastor, a drug dealer, and a pregnant teen hostage in the middle of Hurricane Katrina. To which Ern says, that's a real situation. I'm glad that story is being told. Like that moment of trying to depict these realities for audiences that are willing. What is the nature of the audience? The ambiguity that you can, at least that I feel in Donald Glover's art about being respected by certain people, by being respected in certain areas of society. I don't just mean white society. I mean all parts of society that I think he sees as being hypocritical or perhaps blind to their own perpetuation of injustice, whatever that all is. Like, that's what I feel in his music, that's what I feel in his art, which means that if I talk about it, being the well-meaning latte liberal, that I am, I just become the white guy. I just become Craig. But what saves it? Why did I decide to review this album anyway? Why? Because here's the thing. And again, it's really good that you have a professor here. It's really good music. What makes this a great album isn't its commentary on race in America, although that's interesting, and not about the commentary of love and relationship amongst young people, although that is quite good as well, nor is it the sort of larger meditation on the relationship between humanity and technology. No, what saves it is that he is a great artist who, like many millennial artists, doesn't care about genre. This isn't really a rap album. It's not really a soul album. It's not really an electronic album. It's really sort of everything. And despite the fact that he's so ambiguous about his audience and about his position, I think that's why he intentionally acts like a not nice guy in interviews. Like, if you ever seen interviews with him, he will quite often come across as quite abrasive. And very full of himself. I think that's partly an act because he's so uncomfortable with being the kind of person that people like me would heap so much praise on. He's not the first person to be uncomfortable with that. But what makes it work is his sincerity. I mean, he's a really sincere artist. He's really making what he wants to do. Atlanta is really what he wanted to make, and it's really a good show. And it's not his fault if he happened to make a lot of the issues of race and class in America in a very palatable, funny, surrealistic way that gets academics to go, "Boo!" Okay, it's not his fault. It's not his fault that he's that smart of a guy and that his true artistic vision does that. I don't think he knows what he wants to do, but he seems to always do it. So, if you like this video so far, smash the like button, subscribe. I am going to talk about the music now. I'm 8 minutes in. If you're new to my channel, hi. My name's not actually Craig. That's the name of the white guy from the show. I like to play around with these things. Feel free to call me Craig Allen in any comment section for the rest of your life, and I'll know what you're talking about. I know you saw my Childish Gambino video. I am a big fan of his acting. I hate the world because we're not going to get a Lando movie, and I think it would have been really good. But no, you had to be mad. You had to be mad at Rian Johnson, you prick nerds. Okay. If you type the letters AVAA in the comment section, that means awesome video as always, and I will always heart that comment. So now that we've established a few things, number one, I'm not sure if I should be talking about Donald Glover because I sort of feel like he would prefer it if I didn't. Number two, it's great music. What's the best song on the album? Now you're sitting there and you might have some ideas, but unless you're about to say the next answer, you're objectively wrong. The best song on this album is called Sweet Thing. I'll include a link to it up there. You see I'm moving out of my office. It's sad. Get used to this. Don't get used to this bookshelf anymore. It's going away. Such an awesome groove on this song. Now I understand that he released all this music 4 years ago in a different form, but I didn't listen to it. Okay? If an artist unreleases something or says it's not finished or re-releases a new version, that old version is dead to me. So I'm not even going to hear it. But it's got almost like this Western sound with these very high-tuned drums, and these little snaps and these weird messed up singing and warbled and hitting all these cool melodies. And this crunchy guitar comes in, and the lyrics are perfect. They're perfect, They're perfect because Donald Glover is so good at depicting himself and his weaknesses. And he's not the only artist who's capable of doing it, but he's particularly good at depicting his own weaknesses. Talking about this woman who takes him to the fair and he doesn't care. He gets this, the production's so good. I guess he's at least co-producing all of this album, where it's like the guitar replaces the synths when he starts singing that part and it gets all spacey. And then we have this line, "If you want to be happy, don't look at my phone." That's the thing. And that's that little self-awareness of I'm gonna be garbage. I'm gonna treat you poorly. And if you want to be happy, then keep your naivete. It gets darker and with this doubled voice and little clean guitar and these little snaps everywhere. Summer Walker comes on, her voice is just gorgeous, along with the harp and a great sort of Prince-like guitar wail. I do hear Prince the most on this album. And I'm going to say something that's going to be annoying, but I think he might be the closest artist to Prince now. Now, he doesn't have the talent of Prince, okay? I'm not, please don't confuse talent with like artistic worth, okay? There's a lot of very talented artists who have virtually no artistic worth, okay? The ability to play a scale doesn't make you a great artist. But the level, like the mysterious, imperious nature of Donald Glover, his very earnest and frankly militant blackness that goes along with a palatableness for a white and non-black audience, there's something about all that that goes together. And the way that he has all of this control over what he does, it really does remind me, not just in the voice, in the production of that. And there's like some weird monk-like chanting, just so much movement in the song all throughout this album. So that's my favorite song off the album. But really, the rest of the album's good. The worst the album ever gets is it gets maybe just a little, I don't know, a little boring at times, but not even really boring. More like you can kind of zone out. The opening track is the title track, Atavista. Atavism. Okay, so listen, I'm a professor, that's my shtick. I see the word atavism, and I'm basically aware of the meaning of the word in a general sense. You know, like reverting to something ancestral. That's the idea. You know, the idea, like it exists in biology, but also in social sciences. So the idea of kind of like going back to the way things were. And so I sort of get it, because is this a comment on like humanity and how we're sort of reverting to our sort of tribal ways and breaking apart and becoming less evolved as time goes on? Are we reverting? And then I just happened to type in atavism and philosophy, which led me to have just a hell of a day reading the work of Edouard Glissant. Edouard Glissant, Martinican philosopher, writer, who writes about atavism, but he writes about it in a very bad way. So I don't know if this is where Donald Glover is coming from. Okay, I don't know. Edouard Glissant is very well known in, you know, if you really study sort of the negritude movement. But I don't know. I don't know if Donald Glover's there. I don't know if that's why he's doing it. But what's fascinating is that he's obsessed with the concept of filiation, which is to say heritage, going back, you know, father to son, son to father, the idea that we have rights and that we have a meaning that comes from our ancestors. And he obviously sees a problem with that because he is the descendant of slaves in Martinique who had to have their entire history cut off. They had to have all of the filiation destroyed, and their existence became, as he described, sort of composite. As he says, there's atavistic and composite cultures. So atavistic cultures are based on a sort of genesis. You know, we all go back to Noah or whatever, or Adam, right? We all kind of go back, an uninterrupted line of descent. Whereas composite cultures are mixed up, like mixed in together. And that's obviously all people in the New World who are descendants of Africans are not capable of following this atavistic view of human history. They have to be this composite thing that Glissant is describing. I don't know if that's what Donald Glover's on, but the good thing is, if you're getting ready for me to review the new Makami album, Edouard Glissant happened to say a bunch of stuff which I think is really going to pertain to that. So, hey, you just gotta love it when random research is so fruitful. Now, this song itself, it's co-produced by Ludwig Göransson, who, if you don't know, like, he produced most of that last Adele album. Okay, he made the soundtrack to The Mandalorian. So interesting collaborator, you know, not exactly Metro Boomin, right? High 80s synthesizers, these wild sounds, and he starts singing almost in like a Michael Jackson tone. You think I'm crazy, but I'm high all the time. This cool kind of neo-disco. I sort of wish that he would work with Chromeo. I think they're kind of in a similar vein there. And it's interesting because he seems to really be talking about this concept of kind of backwardsness, I think. It's not insane if we all believe this sort of sense that we're getting where there is no such thing as truth. All truth is now relative. Love the drumming all the way throughout here, the uncanny feelings, great percussion with the melody. It does weirdly end. It kind of falls apart. And so does the next song, Algorithm, which is a funny word. It's spelled like rhythm and algorithm. Very dark sounds to start. Like, this is the song where if you're like, I like Childish Gambino when he raps, this is the song that you circle and say you like. Dirty arpeggio synthesizer, kind of grimy and industrial, very low rapping and high singing, kind of like a growly robot. And I think it's very on purpose that he's just in this very dark mode. And then it breaks into everybody. Everybody, 100% of all people who hear this think that it's Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's back. All right, even if you didn't think of the song from the 90s, maybe you heard the leaks from the Vultures album by Ye and Ty Dolla $ign, where they sampled, apparently without permission, the song Everybody by Backstreet Boys. So it's a great combination of this low, growly sound with essentially almost like a sample of a boy band pop song. And this is, if the Childish Gambino, that's how you know I'm a dad. I throw definite articles where they don't belong. If the Childish Gambino has a flaw, it's also a strength. It's that he can sometimes have that sort of all things to all people, wise man beyond his years, sitting on the mountain, able to look and observe. I mean, This Is America, that was his biggest hit, right? Had that sort of like, let me tell you how things are, a Grammy please. Let me tell you how things are, a Grammy please. Let me make a TV show that tells you how things are, an Emmy please. That's the kind of thing that he's uncomfortable with, but it's not his fault that he's good at this. He's very good at writing about the difficulty. I think we could call this song This Is Humanity. This is not America. Made us a guinea pig and did it with no permission. Told it to call a friend. Didn't tell it to listen. So very scary. So binary, 0 to 1, like or dislike. Coal mine, canary. I dream in color, not black and white. You sell your daughter on that data stream. Dopamine, make a hit now. All about right here, right? Like the same way that This Is America can be used to teach a lot about America in the late teens, early 20s. This song is a perfect song for illustrating our growing unease with how much automated technology and algorithmic tracking and predictive technology is changing the way that we think and the way that we exist. And he claims to want to have the freedom of being wrong and the freedom of being lost. That's one of my favorite old people thing to say. You know, how like old people who grew up before smartphones. Like there really was a time where you just not know where you were. Like, you just lost. I was once in Korea. I stayed there for a couple weeks once. And I took a taxi. And I thought that I communicated clearly to the dude where I wanted to go. But I didn't say it well. I guess my Korean wasn't good enough. I've been studying it for 4 days. And in Korea, like, they don't tell you when they don't know something. That's sort of like a cultural thing. So he was just driving around in circles. Like, it cost me like $40. And like, I didn't go anywhere near where I was supposed to go. Finally, I just told him, this is fine. I let out. I gave him the money. And I was just lost. Like, I don't know how I got back. I must have went to it. I don't know what happened. I don't, like, you're thinking about it now, I'm surprised I'm not still in Korea. Annyeong juseyo. You know what I'm saying? Wild. And then the song breaks into a little jam and and this is the thing that he does so well, is he knows how to find weird times to dance. He knows how to make the moment where we are filled with dread and a sense that things are all wrong and bad, and that's the moment to tell you to slide and to step and slide, and kind of like a gospel vocalization in the back, the whole rhythmic mess, going to make you move. And then it falls apart with these sounds that sound like Michael Jackson, but I'm pretty sure this is just like a triggered sound from like a keyboard pack. Like, whoo! Then we get to the worst song on the album, Time featuring Ariana Grande. again, sort of in this all things to all people mode, the 7 billion people all trying to be free. It's interesting because it reminds me strongly of some of the production on Yeezus by Kanye, kind of boop, boop, boops in the back. Really, my problem is Ariana Grande's presence on here, and it's not that I don't like Ariana Grande. I reviewed her last album. I liked it a fair amount. It's just that this song, this beat, for some reason brings out her weakness. I think her weakness is a thinness to her voice. And then Gambino comes back on and hits this high note with an auto-tune, and it's fine. It's fine. I like the bit where they're kind of jamming in here. I like the little sort of chipmunk gospel. But the next song is Psilocybin? I don't know, Millennia Love. Kind of a nasty sex song, but again, always Childish Gambino, Donald Glover is doing something and commenting on doing it at the same time. So the fact that he's calling it Millennial Love is sort of maybe pointing out that this sex song, the format of a sex song, talking about beating it up, etc., and doing drugs with some random woman and all that, it comes across as slightly ironic or slightly sort of detached. There's a mention of bell hooks, who is getting a lot of mentions in rap these days, which is great. Intersectional feminism. Hey, we need more intersectional feminism in pop music. I don't care what genre. The song's a little too long. I don't know. 21 comes on here, and if you don't know, one of the cool things about Childish Gambino is he helped to mainstream the Migos. He gave them a shout out, and everyone was like, "Oh, really? That guy that we like from Atlanta likes those people we don't like from Atlanta." And 21 Savage does rhyme Popeye's chicken with Popeye's spinach. So, you know what? I don't do this every episode, but I don't know how long I'm going to have this chair. This is going to get a spin. You just rhymed Popeye's chicken with Popeye's spinach. Then this female singer comes in at the end, Khadija Bonet, very nice. Next song is called To Be Hunted. These blaring synths, kind of funky, kind of a club banger, sort of Prince song. This is that example of a song where I just kind of zoned out while listening to it. The theme of being beautiful and hunted is actually written about by Simone de Beauvoir a long time ago, but it's sort of true. If you're beautiful, you're hunted. I don't know if he's talking about himself. He might be. He has that sort of jokey conceitedness of, knowing that, what's that line from The Office? I'm aware of my effect on women. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's a sympathetic song towards women who often feel hunted. I don't know. I think there's some Wonder Woman sounds in here from the TV show when she changes. Then we get to the Stamp Sweet Thing, and then to Littlefoot Bigfoot. Okay, now obviously this is the single. The second that I heard the song, 2 seconds in, I'm like, oh, this is the song of the summer. This and Not Like Us are the songs of the summer. Oh, wait a minute. Much like Not Like Us, this is a weird time to dance. Much like This Is America, this is a weird dance song because the theme, if you watch the video, it's very clear. It's about cycles of abuse. It's about a father who goes off to jail and then his son who starts selling drugs just like him. And if you watch the video, a lot of it's about performing for the audience, which then brings in sort of the complicity of the audience in, if you sit there and watch a rapper rap about selling crack, are you complicit in the terror that is wrought by the war on drugs? Are you complicit in the prison industrial complex by giving your money to the Migos who are trapping the bonds out the windows? Are we complicit, or are we just taking Black Death as a form of amusement? These are all questions which I ask on this channel a lot. These are all questions which need to be asked constantly. Constantly. I'd like to remind you, the reason that I am so offended by Trap Lord Ross is that I fear that I might be more like him than I would like to be. Okay? The same way that Craig from Atlanta makes me feel uncomfortable because I see myself in him. This is a song which is really challenging the audience, and it's all, I'll tell you how to sell yay, and it's kind of a hoedown song, and it's super fun. And the first time I listened to it, I was in the kitchen. I wasn't cooking up crack. I was reheating some chicken and rice that my wife made. It was very nice. And the song came on, and I've been teaching my daughter how to dance and how to play drums. She's 17 months old, and she does this kind of like funny dance like this, and she doesn't know how to get her feet going yet. Like she's just too young, so she does like kind of like little like Pee Wee Herman like stubby foot stuff. So it's this kind of funny thing, you know, and the more I move my feet, the more she likes it. So I just do I'm basically Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance. Like I barely even care about rhythm because at this point she's just so into watching my feet. And so I'm like dancing around to the song. I'm thinking how sweet it is because, you know, I have big feet and she has little feet. And it's this great little story about like big feet dancing and little feet dancing. And here we are. And I always had this memory of us dancing together to the song that's about a dad who's in jail and will probably die in jail, and a son who's taking over his drug business and sees no future in his life and is going to end up in jail just like his father. Bigfoot, Littlefoot, generational trauma. While I'm sitting here having some generational excellence and wonderful love and togetherness, it's all through a song. And right there, that conflict, that's the Donald Glover special. That's the thing he does better than anybody. It's a weird time to dance. That's what I said about Not Like Us, and so is this. Then Young Nudie comes on, so a little bit more standard style trap music. Very nice having a younger rapper on there. You need a palate cleanser, and you get one. With the track Why Go to the Party? Why go to the party at all? I don't know if this is intentionally in conversation with Please No More Parties in LA or No More Parties in LA by Kanye and Kendrick, but it's I imagine Mick Jagger once said, I believe it was Mick Jagger, once said that being famous is just meeting people. That's all you do. Because think, if you're Mick Jagger, everybody who you meet is going to say, I met Mick Jagger once. Every person who ever meets Donald Glover, whenever a Childish Gambino song will come on, whenever the criminally underrated solo comes on, whenever whenever Community comes on. Oh, I met Troy Barnes. Yeah, I did. Yeah, we were at an airport, and it's weird. You know, you'd think he'd fly private, but he wasn't. He was, first class, you know. But anyways, he must have been going out to Coachella or something, because we were flying, or he was coming from Coachella. I don't know what it was, but it was in LAX, and it was awesome. You know, I said hi, and he was a little bit shy, but you know, we shook hands, and he said thank you. And that's his whole. And then for him, every single person he meets doesn't matter. Anyways, I don't know if that's what it's about. I like this line, where are those subtle men with the decency to might be wrong? Damn, Donald Glover, you're going to make me think, aren't you? The decency to might be wrong. What a sentence. I see, he just caught me. Right now, seriously, I was planning on just zooming right to the next song. But now I'm caught on the syntax, okay? He got me caught on the syntax. With the decency to might be wrong. I guess he's talking about blowhards, about people who talk like they know everything, people who just like don't have the decency to might be wrong. I don't know. Beautiful line. Yeah. Our next track is called Human Sacrifice. Very low rumbly sounds. Turn the lights out. We shine brighter in the dark. All right, I don't know. I just read the first half of Invisible Man by Ellison. If you've never read it, Jesus Christ, what a great book. I had a really good friend who once just said that was like the story of his life, just how much he related to it. And in that book, it's this whole thing about how this guy, this black guy who grew up in the segregated South, and he's like living in New York in the post-war period, and how he feels invisible, like he thinks he's literally invisible because of his race, like people literally don't see him. And he sort of describes light and darkness inverted, so that what we would think is the brightest place is the darkest place. Again, I don't know. I don't know if Donald Glover got a degree in African American studies. I don't know. I know his character dropped out of Princeton, but I don't even know his whole story. I think he was an actor really young, so I don't know. Spirit, do you hear me? Will you lift me up? Some African rhythms and singing. I don't know. I'm just saying Craig likes this one. Craig hears this song and Craig's like, you understand, Ern? Then we get to the violence with nice guitar and some like clav sounds. Sort of reminds me of like Bill Withers mixed with early Paul McCartney solo projects. Those are, to quote Cal Naughton Jr., two pretty good things. Okay, those are two pretty good things right there. It has this nice roughness to it. All about like little girl describing the violence. Don't worry about tomorrow, the violence. Again, he's playing with syntax. So don't worry about tomorrow, the violence is not a sentence. That doesn't work as a sentence. Don't worry about tomorrow, the violence. But it's an interesting idea. Like, there's so much violence, we shouldn't worry about tomorrow. That like the senselessness of violence makes our concerns meaningless. I don't know. Kind of, and then we get to the end. Okay, the end is him speaking to his kid. Now, he's not the first person to put their kid on music, but I can tell you, I don't care how grumbly Donald Glover is in interviews. I don't care if you have a friend who met him and he was an asshole because he is at LAX and he just totally blew the person off and didn't shake their hand. And I don't care if there's 1,000 stories about Donald Glover being a piece of shit. I could be wrong, but based on this interaction with his daughter as he recorded it, I'm going forward and saying he's at least a good father. Let me tell you why. She's singing on here, and she's singing a little off key, which is nice. And then he asks her a question. What do you love? And she says, who do I love? And he says, yeah. This dude had the whole thing, this artistic genius, the next generation of Prince, had the whole thing planned out. He would ask his daughter, what do you love? And she would give some kind of answer that he could put into the larger context of the album with his super alpha brain stuff. But she messes up the first word. She says, who do I love? Now, what can you do? You can hit stop and say, no. Let's do this again. I said, what do you love? Okay, I want this to sound natural. He doesn't do that. He follows her lead because he knows that's where the fruit is. The fruit that he's trying to describe, I assume what he's trying to describe is what's, there's the violence in the world and there's the love in the world, right? And then you got to have love and violence, right? In the words of Stromae, peace or violence, like these are the two different things that we might have in this whole world, the good and the bad. And the good isn't being rich, and it isn't having kids. It's interactions like this where he's talking to her and she says, who do you love? And he says, yeah. And he follows her lead. And what does that result in? That results in her describing loving every member of the family, people we don't know because we don't follow it, and then saying that she loves herself. And we have this sense of warmth and honesty and truth. And the Mr. Impenetrable, Mr. Imperious, Mysterious Donald Glover lets us actually see a little bit of him. And the thing that we see is really, really good. The final track is called Final Church. Offbeat, synth notes, crazy noises. This is a little bit more of sort of maybe what you're expecting, more kind of rap-ish, very kind of Yeezus-y, and I don't know. Put the spirit in your Yeezy boosts every day, Sunday morning. And he ends it by saying, I ain't even high. So he says he's high all the time in the first song, and then the last song he says, I ain't even high. I think, listen, this is a pretty quick reaction. The album came out a couple days ago. I'm pretty sure we could do some kind of hyper-analysis of the representation of drug abuse in this album and as it relates to sincerity, the sort of superficial nature of altered states deriving from simple consumption, perhaps taking away from deeper, more meaningful connections, So like the woman who he's having the what do you say, the Tara Reid sex moves, some kind of thing like that. Tracy Ellis. In the psilocybin song, you know, that kind of superficial whatever compared to the richness of the violence thing. I don't know. But I like this song. It turns into sort of like almost like a Stevie Wonder style song, almost like a musical here. Ooh, my beard long, damn, I look like Jesus. Thank you. Thank you. I used to have, did you know I'll show you. So this is this is me and my you know, I'll show him. Who cares? That's the guy I got my doctorate with. So that's how I used to look. He got his doctorate at Princeton, unlike Ern. So that's the kind of hair I used to have. I used to have crazy hippie hair. It's actually graduation today, so you know I could have done my whole video like this. You know, I'm not going to. I'm not going to immediately take this off because I look like an ass. Where was I? So when I looked like that, people used to say, "Oh, you look like Jesus," and I'd always say the same thing. I look black, just to be a pain in the ass, right? And again, Jesus probably didn't look like Donald Glover, but he probably looked more like Donald Glover than he looks like me. Okay? So, doesn't really matter. That was a tangent right there. I'm tired. I've been cleaning up my office. Awesome, badass bit here with these off notes and singing and these descending notes. And much like many other songs on this album, it kind of just ends unceremoniously. So, that's my review of the album. I hope you found my prelude interesting. I'm trying to find my Patreons here. I'm a total mess. All my stuff is all over the place. They help me to buy music. I can't tell if I'm going to buy this album. I think I might because I think my daughter really likes it. But I wanted to get this review out here. So I'm going to head back home. I'm going to do some more dancing. Big foot, little foot. What's funny is I also dance like my baby cannot get enough of Not Like Us. Like, I put that song on and we just dance. So weird. This is a moment, people. We are making really messed up dance songs. Maybe we have to credit This Is America. I don't know. Tell me in the comments, what other messed up dance songs are there? Songs that are super messed up and you can't believe that we dance to it, but we dance to it. Don't say Pumped Up Kicks. I've already got that one in my head. So besides Pumped Up Kicks, This Is America, let me know. All right, until next time, there's the camera.